Tonight on Columbia News at 5, there was a lot of official firepower at the arraignment of this man. The FBI says he's a terrorist. I'm David Northfield in Newark. The story's coming up.
More than 100 children are expected to die of child abuse this year in New York. I'm Regina Holmes in Lower Manhattan, and I'll tell you how the city plans to fight that statistic.
I'm Demetria Gallegos at Battery Park. It's the first waterfront development plan in 35 years. I'll have that story coming up next.
Now, Ann Simmons and Susan Vernon Vitale. This is Columbia News at 5.
4 more men are still missing after the Shell oil refinery explosion in Louisiana, and in Nevada, 1 more body has been pulled from the destroyed fuel plant. Good evening, I'm Susan Vernon Vitale.
And I'm Ann Simmons. In New Orleans tonight, over 2,000 people evacuated from their homes after the massive oil refinery explosion were allowed to return to their homes. 2 more bodies were discovered today in the smouldering wreckage of the Louisiana Shell oil refinery, bringing the death toll to 3 and leaving 4 men still missing. Authorities say 1% of the nation's oil supply went up in smoke there, and gasoline prices along the Gulf Coast already have gone up because of expected shortages caused by damage to the refinery. And in Henderson, Nevada, where a blast at a rocket fuel plant killed 1 and injured 20 people, the latest victim to be pulled out of the smouldering wreckage was a polio-crippled employee. 62-year-old Leroy Westerfield is reported to have stayed behind at the burning plant to call the fire department rather than flee with his fellow workers minutes before the explosion.
A Japanese man was arraigned before Judge Alfred Lechner at federal court in Newark today. He was arrested April 12th on the New Jersey Turnpike while carrying 3 homemade bombs in his car. Yu Kikamara is under investigation by the FBI for possible links to the Japanese Red Army, an international terrorist group. David Northfield was at the courthouse in Newark.
It was a tense moment. U.S. Marshals and state police carried automatic rifles and shotguns while a helicopter circled overhead. Kikamura was led from the courthouse in handcuffs and leg irons after pleading not guilty to 12 federal charges. They include transporting explosives and possession of an altered visa and stolen passport. Judging from the level of security here today, Kikamura was no ordinary prisoner as far as the government is concerned. The FBI is examining the bombs found in Kikamura's car, as well as the possibility that Kikamura was part of a conspiracy. Defense attorney William Kunstler accused the FBI of spreading rumors of Kikamura's ties to international terrorism.
That it gives an impression to the general public and to the jury pool that this is a dangerous animal they're dealing with.
Kunstler also accused U.S. Attorney Samuel Alito of delaying Kikamura's indictment so that the case would come before Judge Lechner, whom Kunstler described as very conservative.
It's absolutely untrue. I don't know whether it would be possible to predict which judge will get a particular case, but I can tell you that we made no effort to do that here.
Kikamura faces a maximum sentence for the 12 charges of 90 years in prison. Until the start of the trial in June, he's being held at the Metropolitan Correction Center in New York City. When that trial does get underway, much of the prosecution's case will depend on the success of the FBI in linking Kikamura to the Red Army. At Federal Court in Newark, this is David Northfield, Columbia News.
Members of the House Armed Services Investigation Subcommittee charged that U.S. officials are lax in maintaining agreements which ban the sale of weapons to third world countries without U.S. permission. The charges come from an investigation which discovered that Korean-made M16 rifles were being sold illegally. The sales are in violation of a U.S.-Korea agreement. The government ignored repeated warnings from Colt Industries, a Connecticut-based gun manufacturer, which contracts a Korean firm to build the M16 rifles.
A 20-year-old New Jersey woman was killed and her mother injured last night after a car being chased by police crashed into their separate cars. Police say they were chasing a car being driven by 23-year-old George Liebert of Berkeley Township when his car crossed the center line of Route 9 in the township and collided head-on with a car driven by Erling Walsh. Her mother, Maureen Walsh, was driving the car behind, which was also struck. Erlene Walsh was pronounced dead on arrival at Community Memorial Hospital in Toms River. The mother was treated for injuries and released. Police arrested Liebert and charged him with possession of a stolen vehicle, driving while intoxicated, driving with a suspended license, reckless driving, and eluding police.
New charges today in the Tawana Brawley case. Brawley supporters say that a Channel 2 local news reporter paid 2 people for stories pertaining to Brawley's whereabouts when she claimed she was held captive by a group of white men. Reporter Mike Taibbi denies that he paid for the story, saying he gave the source $10 for gas and paid for hamburgers. Still to come on Columbia News at 5, the serious issue of child abuse and what the city plans to do about it. Stay with us.
Oh, hi, Fat Albert. I want you to meet my big brother, Frank. He's not my real brother. See, Mom went to Big Brothers and Big Sisters Agency.
They match boys like Johnny with men like me who can spend a few hours a week with them.
It sounds great.
Being a big brother sure is cool. Little people need big people. Call your Big Brothers, Big Sisters Agency today.
Operation Rescue was at it again this morning, this time in Manhattan. The pro-life group held a demonstration in front of an abortion clinic on East 80th Street near Lexington Avenue. This was the latest in a series of protests Operation Rescue held this week across the country. Yesterday, more than 400 people were arrested as they demonstrated in front of an abortion clinic on Long Island. That brought the number of arrests locally to more than 1,300. 3 weeks ago, the city was shocked when Lucrezia Gentile confessed to the killing of her 2-month-old son, telling police that he was kidnapped. After telling police that he was kidnapped, Stephen Gentile is only the latest published case of child abuse in New York City, and Regina Holmes has more on this serious problem.
In 1987, 108 children in New York City are suspected of dying at the hands of a parent. That's a 33% decrease from 3 years ago. The city still continues to grapple with the problem of child abuse. This year, it will spend $525 million for child protection programs, roughly twice the amount spent 5 years ago. But when it comes to the question of who is to blame for these deaths, there is a lot of finger pointing at parents, the community, as well as city agencies. The City Council's Committee on General Welfare has been holding a series of hearings to discuss child abuse. The city's Human Resources Administration, the HRA, blames the Board of Education, saying that school officials do not always report child abuse as required by law. But at a hearing last week, Council member Victor Robles came down hard on the HRA for trying to shift the blame.
I'm not satisfied with HRA, and I don't believe it's doing its job. It's not doing its job because the mandate is on them, not on the police department per se, or the Board of Ed. And right now...
When a complaint is made to Special Services for Children, SSC, a division of the HRA that investigates suspected child abuse, a caseworker is sent out to the home to investigate. If obvious abuse is found, the child is taken away and placed into a foster home. If no abuse is detected, the complaint is documented and the case is closed. Until another complaint comes in, that is. Critics of SSC say the organization is understaffed, undersupervised, and mismanaged. Then there are those who say poverty and cramped living conditions breed child abuse by parents. 2 children who died this year of suspected child abuse, Maya Fugero and Quentin McKenzie, lived in a welfare hotel similar to this one, the Martinique, at 32nd and Broadway in Manhattan. Residents say conditions here for raising children are terrible. Often mothers are cooped up in a single room with 3, 4, or even more children. Patricia Stanley is the head of the newly formed Tenants Association at the Martinique. Stanley believes the conditions at welfare hotels foster stress that some mothers take out on their children. She also says that the city is at fault for not providing decent, affordable housing to low-income families.
The city is not making affordable permanent houses for the mothers to leave out of the hotel. And the mothers are left in 1 room, 2 rooms from 1 year to 2 to 3 years, and it's bringing on a lot of stress. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of these kids are getting abused, because the mothers are under a lot of stress, and they're taking it out on the kids, which should not be.
Beyond the issues of poverty and stress, no one really knows why some parents abuse their kids and others don't. Mental health may be a factor, but increasingly, experts cite illegal drugs as a culprit. At least 30% of all child abuse cases in New York involve alcohol or drug use. Abigail Juarez-Couric is the director of the East Harlem Consultation Center. She works with abusive parents and abused children.
Certainly with the widespread use of crack, you have parents who are losing control much more frequently, and if you've got a child at home, many times that's the perfect target.
Then there are those who feel communities must get involved to prevent future tragedies. Many who have worked with child abuse cases say very often people who suspect child abuse are reluctant to get involved.
The outside community needs to take greater responsibility for taking a stand on that, becoming better educated about the deficiencies in the system. And also at the same time, I think we all need to take a responsibility for taking a look at and when we suspect child abuse, and making a cooperative effort to do something about it, because it's not just one agency's problem, it's really a community problem, and it is an enormous problem. Unless you make some effort to change a problem, you're really part of the problem.
The City Council will be holding 1 or 2 more hearings to discuss child abuse. Then they will submit a report with their findings to the mayor's office. This is Regina Holmes reporting for Columbia News.
Drop out of high school and you will lose your license. That's the proposal in a new bill before the New York State Assembly. The bill would revoke the driver's licenses of students who drop out, are suspended, or expelled from high school. Students convicted of drug or alcohol-related offenses would also lose driving privileges. The licenses would be taken away for 1 year. A report from a watchdog group says that the Board of Education pays more to have school buildings cleaned than it pays to rent them. The Neighborhood Family Services Coalition found that at one building, the board pays $75,000 in rent annually and $117,000 in custodial costs. The board's financial officer said the coalition was comparing apples and oranges.
More than 20,000 young people are in the city's foster care system. Many live in group homes where critics say they grow up without adequate supervision or education. At age 18, they must leave the system whether they are prepared to function in society or not. For the past 3 years, one program has been paying special attention to their needs and trying to become a model to others. Connie Green has the story.
It's called Transformations, and it's part of the Manhattan Valley Youth Program, based at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine on Manhattan's Upper West Side. Transformations is working to help youths in the city's foster care system to become self-supporting adults.
I guess what our major goals are is to help our young people who come into the program, basically with no skills, out of school and out of work. We have 9 months really to help them to become more responsible, to make some type of academic goals, to achieve these goals by going back to school and hopefully getting their high school equivalency diplomas. I think one of the good things about the program is after completing it, we make an earnest effort to find full-time employment for our young people.
About 40 people in the 9-month training year spend 2 weeks of each month in school and 2 weeks working at the cathedral or in private firms. They're paid the minimum wage while in school and on the job. Counseling is provided for those who need additional help in school. Tutors spend as much time as necessary with individuals. Deborah Henderson says the program is helping.
As before, when I was in my old high school, I wasn't doing so great. Until now that I got into this program, I'm doing better.
But a high school diploma is only a start in solving the complex problems these young people have. Manhattan Valley staff of 17, including social workers and psychologists, try to work on some of them.
One type problem that we see often at Manhattan Valley is drug abuse. Young people, whether it's on crack or cocaine or alcoholism or what have you. We also have problems, say whether it's, what an example would be a young person who's been suicidal or who has been molested at some point. Or a lot of times you find that the issues can revolve around something as simple as learning how to negotiate more time.
30 foster care youths work at the cathedral. Some are assigned to the homeless shelter program, cleaning and storing supplies, and general housekeeping chores. Others learn the ancient skill of stone cutting as part of the cathedral's largest expansion since it was started nearly a century ago. Edgar Rice, a Transformations graduate, began as an apprentice in the stone yard. He's been cutting and laying stones for the past 3 years and earns $9.50 an hour. He says he's making it on his own now.
Before I was just hanging out in the streets, doing things that we all young kids do. And when I first heard about the program, they told me that the program pays you to go to school. I said, why? They're gonna pay me to go to school? That's an opportunity I can't turn down. So I joined the program, and then after a while, I started realizing that somebody did care. So I took advantage of it, and that's why I've been working here 3 years now, because I always been placed in group homes to group home, and nobody really showed you that they care. But down here, they showed you that they do care.
A few youths work in the child care program at the cathedral, run by Jose Torres.
They very much, in some cases, are a step ahead of some of the other workers because they understand that they are in a work setting. They understand that there are expectations placed on them, and they know how to meet those expectations.
Transformations claims 90% of the participants are placed in jobs, but the staff admits that many are unable to keep them for very long. One reason may be that some are not in the program long enough to overcome personal problems. Some also find it difficult to break their attachment to the program.
Well, when it's time for them to go out on full-time jobs, there's a sense of that they're leaving a safe space. We've created a safe space here at Manhattan Valley. The staff is very caring. We really get involved with the young people. But we have to creatively and really honestly, we have to let them know that it's a big world out there, and this is your opportunity to go out into the world and to become independent.
To improve the success rate, Manhattan Valley is considering extending the program and follow-up services, but that will take more money. Transformations now gets $250,000 from the city, and it must bid against other agencies competing for limited resources. Brown says they're negotiating for a new contract and hope to get additional funds. Connie Green for Columbia News.
You Are Not Forgotten reads the flag which honors many American soldiers missing in action or taken prisoner in past wars. Last week, the New Jersey legislature passed a law requiring that the prisoner of war and missing in action flag be flown outside key government buildings in remembrance. But no one remembered to notify the department which handles flag procurements, though the State House in Trenton has been in violation of the law since April 26. Officials say the bureaucratic blunder was brought to their attention yesterday by veteran groups, and that the black and white flag will be flown outside government buildings as soon as one becomes available. The government today charged E.F. Hutton with 3 felony money laundering charges. The investment firm was charged with conspiracy and laundering at least $532,000 for organized crime figures and businessmen wanting to hide income from the IRS. The charges come after an investigation of the firm's Providence, Rhode Island office last summer. The U.S. attorney involved in the case says Hutton is expected to plead guilty at a hearing later this month. E.F. Hutton faces a fine of up to $1 million. The nation's unemployment rate fell to 5.4% in April, the lowest it has been since June 1974, according to figures released by the government today. Nearly all of the jobless decline occurred among young adult men. Figures among adult women remain unchanged since March. The unemployment rate calculations are based on a monthly survey of the nation's households. Trading on Wall Street was slow today because of renewed fears of inflation. We'll be right back. Up ahead, this park is expanding, and we'll tell you what this means to our waterfront as Columbia News at 5 continues.
You've collected just about everything you need for safety. But you can't relax yet. The collection in your medicine cabinet can be dangerous. Medicine compositions may begin to change with age. Throw out old drugs that have passed their useful prescription period, or drugs you no longer take, and any unlabeled medicine. Okay, now you can relax.
Super, all right. Hi, I'm Gary Carter of the New York Mets, and as a former Little Leaguer, I know the benefits of participating in Little League Baseball. Kids not only learn the skills of the game, they also learn valuable lessons in teamwork and sportsmanship. But most of all, they have a lot of fun. Shouldn't your children have the same opportunity I did? Little League Baseball is a great American tradition. Make it a part of your community. All right, guys, let's play ball!
Polish lawmakers today took the first steps to make strikes and protest illegal actions. The government measures come as a result of labor unrest at several of Poland's largest factories and shipyards. At this time, it appears the bill will pass with a majority vote next Wednesday when the entire parliament meets. And in Gdansk, in the Lenin shipyard, workers are braced for a confrontation with riot police. The protesters have been on strike for several days. 3,000 riot police raided the Lenin foundry in Krakow Thursday, injuring 9 and arresting several hundred. A military alert is in effect in New Caledonia after yesterday's rescue mission that freed 23 French hostages. 3 more bodies have been found near the island cave where the hostages were rescued, bringing the death toll to 21. Officials say one of the bodies was the leader of the captors, who died of wounds from yesterday's assault. The hostage-taking was in part to protest regional elections held in the area in April. A local separatist group is seeking independence from France, which has ruled New Caledonia since 1853.
More violence in Lebanon today. Police say 4 people were killed and at least 9 injured when rival Palestinian factions battled in a West Beirut refugee camp. 2 other people died and 5 were injured when a bomb exploded Thursday night in a movie theater in Beirut's Syrian police Muslim sector. This is the 3rd cinema bombing in the West Beirut in the space of 2 weeks. 2 people were wounded in the earlier bombings. British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher experienced the first electoral test of her third Conservative programme after the Labour Party made strong gains in local balloting earlier today. The election was fought on national issues of Thatcher-inspired shake-ups of the welfare system and plans for a new property tax. Labour has gained 109 of the 211 local authorities which are being contested. The Tory setback is giving the Labour Party increased hopes that they will do well in the general election in 1992.
As medical technology advances, doctors are able to prolong the process of dying, sometimes far beyond the wishes of their patients. In New York State last month, a law went into effect governing the rights of the terminally ill to die. The legislation grew out of several court cases. In the first of 2 reports, Columbia News looks at the politics of dying. As Larry Wilson reports, tonight a clear and convincing standard was established in the landmark case of Daniel Delio versus the Westchester County Medical Center.
May 19, 1986, Daniel Delio, a 33-year-old marathon runner and exercise physiologist, suffered cardiac arrest following routine surgery at St. Agnes Medical Center in New York. He was left in a persistent vegetative state, permanently comatose with no hope of recovery. The next day, he was transferred to a Westchester hospital where 2 artificial tubes were inserted, one into his stomach, the other his small intestine. His wife, Julianne, sought to have the tubes removed so that her husband could die.
We had discussed these kinds of things on many different levels, and it wasn't my decision. It was Danny's decision. It's what I knew he wanted for himself, and that's what we proved in court. The two of us knew and understood what it meant to have your cortex destroyed. That was the loss of your life. That was death.
Daniel Delio lay in a medical limbo for more than 1 year until the New York State Supreme Court ordered that the tubes be removed. But the Westchester Hospital refused to comply, so on June 6, 1987, Daniel was transferred to another hospital that agreed they would remove the tubes. He died 9 days later, establishing a legal precedent.
The Delio case established a very important point for all of New York. One thing, that artificial feeding is a type of treatment that can be refused. Before that case, everyone agreed that patients had the right to refuse treatment. But whether or not that was a type that could be foregone just hadn't been established yet.
Gassner said that already new laws have evolved from the Delio case and a patient's right to refuse medical treatment. In our next segment, we'll take a deeper look at the new laws and the politics of dying. For Columbia News, Larry Wilson.
Eastern Airlines today sued its pilots and machinists for $1.5 billion. The suit charged that union members were trying to destroy the air carrier company so that they could buy it at a bargain basement price. Eastern accused the Airline Pilots Association and the International Association of Machinists with racketeering, extortion, fraud, and defamation. There was no comment from the unions.
The president of Aloha Airlines is defending the carrier's maintenance inspection record. Maurice Mears says he'll match Aloha's records against any airline in the country. An FAA inspection last December revealed that the airline didn't have an adequate system to make sure that the airlines had proper maintenance. Last week, an overhead section of the Boeing 737 jet ripped off at 24,000 feet in the air. 1 person was killed and 61 others injured. In San Francisco today, airport officials say a Chinese man survived a 15-hour flight from Beijing to the West Coast in the cramped baggage container of a plane. Why? Officials say he wanted to gain his freedom and political asylum. The man reportedly told investigators that he had not been able to get a student visa from the United States because he could not prove that he had a financial sponsor. Tonight, the man is in police custody. Still to come on Columbia News at 5, musicians make their living in the not-so-pretty environment underground.
You've collected just about everything you need for safety. But you can't relax yet. The collection in your medicine cabinet can be dangerous. Medicine compositions may begin to change with age. Throw out old drugs that have passed their useful prescription period, or drugs you no longer take, and any unlabeled medicine. Okay, now you can relax.
Later this month, President Reagan will be making his first official visit to the Soviet Union for the Summit on Nuclear Arms with Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev. At the same time, the New York Philharmonic will be making its first tour of the Soviet Union. The orchestra will be performing in Leningrad. And in New York City, orchestras of another kind, underground. Diverse groups are trying to bring some calm and culture to soothe the savage subways. But it's not always easy. Irene Coletzos reports.
The Metropolitan Transit Authority estimates 3,700,000 people take the subway every workday. Many of them are treated to more than a ride for their token. The MTA decided October 16th to allow musicians to try to turn these dank passages into concert halls. But city subway people are sometimes difficult audiences. The Gallery Brass Quintet performs at the Columbus Circle station. Its members say this type of harassment isn't unusual.
A man the other day, obviously, he was more than just a homeless person. He was crazy. He walked by and he spit at us and was swearing like mad. And he was definitely out of his mind, and it was a little unnerving.
One time we had a woman come and steal money from us and had to get it for the police to come and bring her back. She was in Grand Central Station, and it was kind of a sad thing. You know, we had to make her bring the money back, and that kind of thing happens. And people harass us, a lot of drunks to come and conduct us, and sometimes it's really distracting, but it teaches you to concentrate.
Bob Rogers directs Music Under New York. The program, which began in 1985, promotes subway musicians. He says the city helps protect them.
Well, security has been very helpful to us. The transit police know that our program is here. We've been here for a year, and we find that the police have been very supportive, and the musicians feel very safe down here.
Perhaps worse than rowdy audiences are no audiences at all. Half-empty platforms, unresponsive listeners. But the chance that some people will listen and maybe contribute a few bucks urges them on.
Well, apart from the money people throw into my case, I get a few hours practice a day and a bit of self-satisfaction, I suppose.
So we usually average about $50 a piece. So that's a good day. But sometimes we've had some bad days where we've taken in maybe $3 or $4 a piece.
Yes, we get a lot of work from it. We've got a lot of weddings and parties and things that brass quintets would, play, events and things like that. So it definitely has been worth our while.
So despite the clamor, the crush, and the sometimes ugly but usually attentive audiences, subway musicians continue to try to tame the underground's cacophonous halls. Irene Coletzos for Columbia News.
Thousands of Bruce Springsteen fans lined up in the rain overnight for a shot at tickets to the Boss's concert. Springsteen is set to appear at Madison Square Garden from May 16th to the 23rd. The tickets didn't go on sale until late this afternoon, but cold, wet fans didn't mind the long wait in the pouring rain. A study conducted on 1 to 5-year-olds show that children who eat ready-to-eat cold cereals tend to be better nourished than those who eat breakfast and other foods. The study does not suggest that cereal is the only good breakfast, but it stresses that cereal provides many fortified minerals and that children can easily prepare it for themselves.
Mayor Koch and Governor Cuomo today announced plans for a huge new waterfront park along Manhattan's Lower West Side. Columbia News reporter Demetria Gallegos has the story.
What will it take to turn this into this? $97 million and 6 years, so say the developers of the city's newest and most grandiose park plan. The designs for the 50-acre park system were revealed today. The project consists of many individual park areas, which will run continuously from Battery Park at the south tip of Manhattan 2 miles north to Chambers Street.
There's nothing like it anywhere in the United States of America. And there's a lot about it, I think, that is different.
The waterfront parks will include environmental artworks, playgrounds, a skating rink, and an esplanade connecting them all. The parks will border some of the most expensive residential and commercial developments in town. But for the city, the best part of this park project is the revenue it will raise for low and middle income housing in other neighborhoods. More than $1 billion has been earmarked for the Housing New York Corporation, and 2 low-income housing projects are currently under construction, thanks to the first bond issuance from park developers.
We ought to understand all the dimensions of Battery Park. A great housing development, a great commercial development, of course, but it's much more than that. It represents a statement by the city of New York and the state of New York that we understand what family means. We understand what sharing means. We understand that the magnificence of this system is that some people make it in the free enterprise system and then share their success with people who have been not quite as fortunate.
No, it's not a question of a rich getting a nice backyard. What we're trying to do is produce access to the waterfront for the entire city.
That $97 million price tag on the parks project itself is being raised by the developers of the Battery Park City area. Instead of paying taxes and rents to the government, they'll build the parks. Construction of the park designs revealed today should be completed by 1994, but plans are afoot to extend the project further north, all the way to 59th Street. The Parks Department says an announcement to that effect is due within 2 weeks. Demetria Gallegos, Columbia News.
A penny for your thoughts, since the computer is to blame. A Norwalk, Connecticut woman recently received a delinquent auto tax bill for 1 cent. She tried to pay in person, but the tax clerk wouldn't take the penny, saying it wouldn't affect anything. But the problem returned to haunt the woman. When she tried to register her car, computer records show she had a tax debt. Then she got another bill in the mail. The woman then taped a penny to a letter to the mayor and called the billing ridiculous. She also said she wanted a receipt mailed to her, even though she knew it would cost 25 cents for postage. The mayor said the problems could be blamed on the new computer tax billing system. Can you believe that, Anne?
Sheer bureaucracy, I think. Well, that's all we've got time for today. I'm Ann Simmons.
Thanks for joining us. Tune in for Columbia News at 5 next time. For Ann Simmons and the Columbia News staff, I'm Susan Vernon Vitale. Good night.
Good night.